today one of Yes Realty Partners' newest minted agents, and happens to be our daughter.
I'm smiling because realty partner is still hard for you to say.
It is hard for me to say. So
you know who highlighted that to him when building the brand?
Okay.
It's my mom.
No, I did as well. On the onset of the brand, I said, Keith, say this 3 times fast. Keith, say it 3 times fast over there.
It's tough.
It is tough. It is tough.
So I didn't even get a chance to get through my intro.
I'm sorry, Keith.
Sorry,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I apologize, Keith.
So no. So actually, the theme of today's show, or kind of moving forward, is something we've been doing. Oh my God, going on 5 years now, is storytelling, right? And how important storytelling is to what we do for a profession. But if I can finish the intro,
Yes.
Yvonne Weidel is our daughter, who's now our newly minted agent. And I've been anxious for today. Not anxious in a bad way, but anxious in an excited way. How we got here was when the cameras go live, one of the things that Yona and I, maybe Yvonne might think differently, have not done to our children was to push them in any direction as a profession.
Mm-hmm.
And you reached out to us and said, this is what I want to do. And
Well, you have been telling me since I was 18 to do this, but not in a sense of like join the.
That's not fair.
Not in a sense of like join the company, as a sense of like you should just get your license to
Okay, so-
have
so-
your
so the
license.
people-
Well, you have the talents
Yeah.
to be really good at this.
Yeah.
So the people that are listening and soon to be watching, this is going to be a family therapy session.
I got that impression. And that's why I let you do the intro here. I'm just going to go along and enjoy the ride.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay,
J-Dubs,
let me
if you can
buckle
check
in.
LinkedIn over there, that would be great. We'll give the show a like and a share anywhere you're watching. James Watson, your brother-in-law, giving you some prompts right now.
Well, he can tell some stories.
I know he can. I think I'm going to sit back and watch. Kevin Higgins at Greenwood, hello. Dana Lewis, hello. Kyle Irvin, the fantastic communications director at the Charlottesville Police Department, hello. Thank you for watching the program. Kevin Yancey in Waynesboro. Tom Stargell, the Golden Apple Award winner from Albemarle County Schools, watching the program. Holly Foster, I think you're going to love the show. Lauren and Keswick, Carrie Rock, Seth Liskey, the Stantonian real estate investor. Seth, I just sent you an email. It's in your inbox. Ray Cadell, MJ Arquette. Mr. Bill Mooncachi, welcome to the program. Realtor Katie Pearl, welcome to the program. You got realtors from Long and Foster, from Nest, from Yes, from Keller Williams, from Real Estate 3, all watching the show literally as we speak. J-Dubs, you ready to rock and roll, my friend? Yeah, J-Dubs, I think you want to have that microphone in front of you. I think that's what Keith is alluding to right there by gently pointing at you.
I sit quiet on the set, so I was...
I know.
Quiet on the set.
That's his skill there.
Ooh.
Good Wednesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us on Real Talk with Keith Smith, a show that airs 3 days a week, 10:15 a.m. to 11:15 a.m., and is approaching a 5-year anniversary. A show that has received accolades from national media to regional media for its breadth and storytelling, for its ability to connect with you, the viewer and listener, for its talents with its star, Keith Smith, a gentleman who's been in real estate since 1987, a man that I genuinely look up to, a man that's always dressed well, always has a gift for conjuring laughter from those who are around him, and a man who knows how to close a deal. I think today's program is going to be fantastic. I've been looking forward to today's program since I heard who our guest was, and I'm going to take a back seat on most of today's show as I watch the dynamic play out between a father and a daughter, and perhaps the next generation of a generational real estate business, Yes Realty Partners. Judah Wickhauer is our director. If you could go to the studio camera, my friend, and welcome our star, Keith Smith of Real Talk with Keith Smith. Good Wednesday morning, my friend.
I also get kudos from Liza the dog.
I,
And that's the ones that actually...
you really like coming in here because you know you're very well liked in this studio.
I'm very... Well,
Yes.
I know he does. I know he does. Yeah, I know he does.
Hi, Yvonne. How are you?
Hi, Dad. Or
Oh,
Keith.
Keith. So we're in a work environment, so it's Keith.
Hello, Keith.
But it could be Dad. It could be Pop. It could be whatever you want.
Okay.
There's no one thing that we have established. There's very few rules, but you know we this is an open and safe space.
Thank
did
you.
Did I use the right words?
Oh, you did.
you did,
It's
yeah.
funny you brought up the dad daughter. There, as you guys know, dad and daughter here did some business back in the day with Chris Jensen and
Oh, yeah.
Pat Jensen. The late great Pat Jensen was in the room, who is a real estate legend. She's now in heaven.
Yeah.
And when I would watch Chris and Pat interact all the time, it was always Chris and Pat.
Yeah.
It's funny. So a shout out to the Erpies. So Yona and I went out for dinner with Alex and his wife Elizabeth. Tavola, of course, but that's where we went out. And I asked during the meal, I said, so how do you and your dad do that? Because, you know, I come from a family business, right? You know, my father, when he left the New York City Fire Department, worked for us to go ahead and build houses.
Yeah.
And I reminded him all the time that he was the father of the president, which would be me. And then I got told to shut up. But I'm excited about today. I'm excited about this journey together. And you kind of crushed me a little bit. You said that I was pushing you into this business since 2008?
No, not pushing, but like suggesting that I get my license, because there was a long time where I didn't know if I was going to go to a college or not, right? Like I'm first generation college, so that was like an unknown route for our family. And like I remember the day I learned that like GPAs are cumulative, not just like for the year. So clearly I was like hopping on the college game last second. And you were like, you should get your real estate license. You've been
I think I
asking-
feel like I tell that to everybody. So
Well, then my next statement was, you've been telling me and one of my childhood best friends, Kelsey, to do it since we were 18. And, you know,
well, I recognized
did it.
talent from an early age.
Yeah.
That you can do
Real
this. So
Stephanie Wells Rhodes, watching of the Interstate Service Company
I
family.
see back to family-run businesses, right?
that is-
She says, because her dad was her boss for
Yeah.
a period of time
Yeah.
at Interstate Pest and Service Companies, and she said, my dad was always dad to me, even when he was my boss. Another interesting dynamic here with the 7 degrees or 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. In this particular circumstance, it's like the 3 degrees of the Smith family or the Wells family. I think you grew up with her daughter, Corinne.
yeah. And now Corinne is the teacher for my little cousin, or Emory,
Public
Fluvanna
schools.
County.
Fluvanna County
Fluvanna.
Public Schools. Okay, Fluvanna County Public Schools. So everyone is just a few degrees apart
It's a small,
in this
small community.
Or it's Fulvana.
Yeah, or it's Fluvanna.
Mazi Vogler watching the program.
Hey, Mazi, how are you? It was
She's a
great.
realtor of Real Estate 3.
Yeah, we sat down and had a cup of coffee yesterday. She's a rock star of a real estate agent. I think Yona just and her did a transaction, and we always try to sit down and thank them for a smooth transaction, and she did an absolutely smooth transaction. So back to the why, right? You know, I don't think I've ever asked you this question. Why have you decided to pivot from being a teacher to getting into this business? And I'm trying not to be super excited about it,
Yeah,
by the
no,
way.
great question. Teaching is really tough right now, as any teacher.
But it's always been, right?
It has always been very tough, right? Well, I mean, I've only worked in it to speak to recent years. From my understanding from, you know, generational teachers and people who've been in the game for 20 to 30 years, it has shifted. We're in a space right now, at least I can speak to my experience, where, you know, admins maybe isn't trusting teachers as much as I was lucky to have with my admin when I worked in Merriweather and other schools, and parents aren't trusting admin, and parents aren't trusting teachers, and it's just like almost feels like a whole communication breakdown amongst the public school, and I'm sure private sector as well. So for me, I love teaching, and I get my cup filled from hanging out with children. They are my favorite. I realize that I can get that avenue through different things like volunteer work, coaching, tutoring. So I don't need teaching and all that comes with it to be my filling cup with my children. And like kind of my favorite analogy is like I love when the classroom door is closed and I get to be with just my children learning what we would like to learn. Things are grooving. I don't have all the outside impacts of admin, of state testing, of parents, of homework, of just nonsense data collection. So like when my door is closed, that's why I love teaching. The problem is when I was getting along in my teaching career, and this is a blanket statement, might not be true for everyone, I couldn't close that door anymore. Like all of those outside factors just kept.
So you were not allowed to be a teacher.
I just wasn't, it was really difficult to do the style of teaching that I wanted in the setting that I was at. So, felt like a natural transition. I also don't think I would ever be okay with paying someone to raise Ravenna while I raise other children.
That's her daughter.
Yeah, that's just kind of like where my priorities lie. And so I love children, but I'm biased to my own. And I'm very thankful I'm in the position.
Oh, you said that in plural. Is there something I need to know?
To my own.
Oh, okay. Got it. My hearing aid picked up
To
something
my
else.
own.
The
Yeah, that's
grandfather
singular.
kicked in
Yeah,
there for
no,
a
that's
second.
singular.
Yeah.
No, don't worry.
Yeah, I was singular.
I heard something different.
That was my like, okay, this feels like a natural transition. What can I do? And I truly just, it started off with like, I just want to internship underneath my family because you have such a wealth of knowledge in this field.
Since 1987.
Yes, and it's just like, you're here. I want to learn it all. You're the people I learned from my whole life. So it feels a very natural transition.
So how did it feel? Because, this is an open and honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did it feel growing up with mom and dad having their own businesses, working the crazy things that, we joke around. I think I left you late standing more times than...
There were birthday parties where you answered phone calls, yes.
Yeah. So
Like,
how
happy
did-
birthday. Hello, this is Keith. Yeah. That's not what I want. That's why when Jerry's like maybe next generation for the YRP family, I would love to manage that from a different perspective, but that's not the game I'm trying to get into because you guys work all the time. It is all of the time. And that's my main friction with teaching is it's also all the time working.
My wife would say the same. I work all the time.
Yes.
I am constantly on my phone.
Yeah.
Either talking, sending emails, or text messaging. And it's such a fine line between being accessible and providing client services of the highest quality, which gets you referrals and keeps the client happy.
Referrals is the key to this
Referrals
business.
in any business.
Particularly this business.
Yeah, any business. Because in a lot of ways, I'm in the same kind of business. It's keeping people happy.
I mean, just to put an example to that, and Mom, Yona, I mean, God love her, she religiously sends out these notes.
She never stops.
And religiously sends out these.
They're a fantastic personal touch.
Yeah.
I sincerely mean that.
And I got a phone call. We're going to go see a listing today that was a note that Yona sent 4 years ago with a calendar and a little refrigerator thingy. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go see a house. And that 4 years later, it made an impact. But we're going to have to shoehorn between all the meetings we've got today in that to make it happen because it's a matter of taking care of the client. But
I think to finish my sentence, you know when you're growing up that if you have a member of, a parent who works like this, like,
Entrepreneur.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Well, we
know
have two
they're
of them.
working a lot. You don't understand it. And I think like where I'm interested to see how my next phase of life or chapter of life will be is like, how do I parent and also do this? Because you realize there is not enough hours in the day. And so, my work ethic is because I've watched you all work like that. At the same time,
do you think that's common for your age group? Work ethic
well, I
like
don't.
that?
Yes, millennials. Yes.
Yes.
And I think the main difference between like boomers, your age,
We're going to go
and-
down that route, huh?
the main difference between people my parents' age and me, we have seen you all work, and this is again blanketing, could be very different for everyone. But we have seen you work like that into the ground. So we know how to work like that into the ground. But we're like desperately trying to set boundaries, like healthy work-life balance boundaries. So
one of the great things about this business is you can do that. It's if you choose to do it or not, it's a different story.
Tough.
Multiple agents watching the program. Mozzie says that's real estate. We're always working. I'm
Yeah.
seeing that from a couple of agents that are posting on the
It's-
feed right now.
As someone watching it growing up, But when I was growing up, you were doing your
Mozzie has 2 daughters. Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is hitting probably home with her.
Yeah.
Sure.
With 2 daughters.
Yeah, I mean, like you were in your construction business, and that was nonstop. I mean, I grew up on a job site, which is fine. I learned some colorful language. I could probably,
Really?
I can probably thank my humor to the job site.
But on the
But-
positive side, you know how to operate a skid steer.
I do. I
You
have
know how to operate a track hoe. We used to pull up.
Life lessons for sure.
life lessons. Yes.
Your mother, Yona's heart would sink when she'd pull up to a job site and you were up on the trusses on the
Yes.
top with me,
Yeah.
unhooking crane.
Yeah, and like
trusses.
that's how I love to learn now.
So I'm
Like, that's my
excited to do
learnings.
that again with you. I really am.
I don't know if you'll catch me on a truss again, but you might be able
Well,
to get
working
Ray up
together.
there.
Yeah, working together again.
Well, what's going to happen, and Juan Sarmiento, we'll get to your comment. Johnny Ornella is watching the program.
Hey, Johnny.
He owns multiple restaurants. He knows,
knows
about
family.
knows family and balancing family and working around the clock.
Yeah, it's wild.
What happens when you get in this game? And I see totally what Keith and Yona and the team see with you is like you're a people person. You have such a positive, contagious energy. People want to be around you. I think you have fantastic mentors that you're going to pick this game up
Yeah.
quickly. Our bracket of age is the one that's booming and growing into real estate. So I think you're going to have opportunity galore. What happens if
Plus
you're going
the
to have
buyers there.
Yeah, the buyers are there. She lives in a market in Richmond that's hot.
So
What's
it-
going to happen when you're working 3 or 6 deals in the hopper, and
not.
you have to do this?
So I think the thing about watching Mom in particular, because Dad has always just been like, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and it's going to bust some shoes. Mom is a people pleaser is not the right word because I am the same, and I know that would offend me to hear. But Mom works really hard to make sure that everybody is having the best experience they could, i.e. the note, i.e. the touches. Like, right? So Mom works really hard at the sacrifice of her own self. Not that you don't do that, but I think it's just slightly different in a sense of like you can shut it off. Like Mom's constantly thinking
Well,
about.
the difference is I love to delegate.
And Mom, yes,
Mom
Mom
is
likes
not
to
so-
do it herself because
Yona's
then you
not.
can do it the right way. Yona. And so I feel that same way. So your question is what happens when that happens? I physically cannot say, I'm really working hard on saying no.
It's a hard word.
And my
right?
framing.
Isn't no a hard word?
It's
Jerry?
tough. It's tough. And my framing question is like, who is this for? Like, right? So we just had dinner at my grandparents' house on Sunday.
20 people.
I was tired. It's a lot to ask us to drive out to Fluvanna County. I know that it means so much for us. I love my grandparents, all the positive things. And I was like, but who is this for? Is this for me? Am I going because I want to go? Or am I going because I want Ravenna to be around her cousins? And the answer to that question was, I want Ravenna to be around our cousins and our grandparents.
And for you to be around your grandparents.
Yes, of course. So that's kind of how I guess I have to go into framing some form of boundaries because
But do you think the millennial buyer would understand that?
Yeah, I truly do. I have not.
Slightly disagree with you on that.
You think though?
Yeah,
Okay,
I-
so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, but here's why. I know so many, and it's hard because in the medicine world, like you don't get to say no. So like all the work,
Our husband's a doctor.
all the workers that I know right now are in medicine, and they don't have that choice to say no. I'm not. I'm
And
gonna
they're
set
probably
my
burnt
boundaries.
the you know what out.
Yes. Is
that fair?
Yes. Oh, yeah. But other than them, I have really seen a shift in people being like, you know what? Like, I'm not going to start my day until 10 a.m. But as I'm saying that, I'm now thinking of all the people who work so
Yeah.
hard. I need to think about it.
setting in this business, setting boundaries.
And plus, you have a daughter. I mean, what time is your daughter waking up?
Well, I wake her up.
Yeah. So she sleeps till whenever you want her to. Well, you're fortunate.
No, she does not sleep till whenever I want her to. I'm just an early bird. So,
Okay.
like, 6:30 is a good sleep for her.
That's still fantastic.
Yeah.
How old is she? She's younger
She's
than
a
2,
year.
right?
She's a year. She's a great sleeper.
That's
we have
fantastic.
always been privileged with sleep. To the point that like we had a little bit of a sleep regression while Dad and my in-laws were watching her, and like we kind of got away from it. Like when we came back, it was gone, and we were like,
You took a really good
I was
time.
like, did
to
we just
leave,
miss that?
leave to go to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I was like,
Your timing was impeccable.
Yeah,
by the
I
way,
don't know, but-
on that.
Also,
And
could have been a new setting.
And
Well, she was in our house.
Oh,
so no.
okay. Wow. Okay.
And she had
we
just,
caught that little cycle.
Yeah, she had just figured out how
enough
to
time
walk.
to say bye, mom and dad.
So
You
I
guys
don't know,
got
Jerry.
this.
That's a great question. But that's something that, like, while growing up and watching my family work so hard, is not what I would like to do with my time here on this planet. So,
Well, but that's the great thing about this business, right? You know, mom and I, good, bad, or indifferent, are wired a very different way, right? We're either working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, or
And
But is
part
that-
of that is a byproduct, and I have a hard time explaining this to folks. We've been fortunate in that we've made our passions our profession, and then like we thoroughly enjoy doing it. I mean, are there aspects of our work that we don't love? Sure, but I was talking about this with an attorney, a high power attorney, okay, and obviously I'm not going to dox who the attorney is, but the attorney was like, I don't really like what I do. And then,
do you comprehend that at all?
The attorney, and I said, so why do you do it?
No, amen.
And they're like, because of the money, because she makes a boatload of money.
Yeah.
And at that moment, to your point, I had a hard time comprehending it. She's working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and does not like what she does. The most thing that she's doing over the course of a week, she does not like it at all.
So-
I love what I do.
So when you guys were growing up, what was the one thing I always said about I would never press you to do anything.
do it with passion.
Whatever you do, have passion about it.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't care what it is. If it was sweeping, I won't say what I know.
Be the best at whatever you do.
Yeah, sweeping
But-
streets or being an attorney or a doctor or a
I
teacher.
don't know. I think that's where. I think.
You think there's that much of a shift?
I truly would love to know. I would love to gather the data on job satisfaction within my age group. I would love.
You're
to
a
gather
young
that
millennial. I'm an old millennial.
data. I would love
You're,
to.
what are
gather
you?
that data.
90.
4.
Okay, so you're right on the cusp of almost Gen Z.
I-
Because I think the millennial. Could you put the generational chart?
So,
Doesn't
but-
the millennial go to 95? I think it's. He's got a chart. I think it's 95.
But I think
96.
and, like,
96. Thank you, Judah.
this is, opinions.
Voice of God.
Opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has them, and they
Sure.
all stink.
Yeah.
So here is my
Geez,
opinion.
where'd you hear that?
Yeah, I censored it. Here's my opinion. Like, it's so tough to work and, like, quote unquote, get the American dream right now. Like, it's tough. We are saddled with student loans. We can't afford to even look at a house, let alone buy one. Incomes have not raised according to inflation for a very long time. So maybe where you all got your like purpose and drive and sense of love for what you do is because you were able to like work knowing that like one day I'll get to do X, Y, and Z. That's a pretty far off dream for like retirement is a very far off dream for most people who have student loans, who have a home, who are making $40K.
I'm actually trying to find. This is a great topic.
That's my hot take.
I was.
No. We should unpack that hot
So
take.
it's like, why would I like what I do when like I will never see the reward of like a Social Security? Like that's done. My generation's not getting that
Well, if you don't do it, how are you going to get ahead?
by doing bare minimum work.
But that's
wow.
not going to lead. That's not going to yield results.
But are they getting results from what they're doing right now?
So I think we're mixing things up here. So we, your mother and I and Jerry and you too, because I know you well enough to know that what you were teaching you're passionate
Yeah,
about.
of
You
course.
will be passionate about helping your client
Of course.
to buy and sell. The question is the number of transactions you have to do to satisfy that passion is probably a lot less than mom and I's on that transaction.
Well, because think of the privilege that I sit in,
You do. You're
right?
Yeah,
Like I'm not doing this to put, I'm doing this because I genuinely like it. I'm not doing this
so that's
because
the
I
point.
have to.
You're passionate about it. You technically don't have to do it.
But here's the thing: when I'm teaching, I give myself 110%. I love it. I put it all out there. All teachers know you work crazy hours. Eventually, you're going to burn out when you're making $35,000.
Yeah.
My first teacher salary with a master's degree was $35,000.
And it's worth to note, and you mentioned this early, and you
42,
glossed over.
it was 42.
You glossed over this.
But
In both of our
In
family,
Seattle.
No, that was out here.
Oh, okay.
That was Albemarle County,
Seattle
which
was
paid
a little
higher
bit-
than Charlottesville City
Yeah.
and higher than Fluvanna. So my first teaching job, just because
With a master's degree.
I believe that
And student loan debt.
and a car payment and a rent. I just believe that salary transparency is very important, especially for minorities or women. But I made $42,000 Albemarle County with a master's degree my first year of teaching. And I had all the gung-ho. I was buying my own art supplies. I did it all. But eventually that person who wants to work themselves into the ground is going to burn out because it's post-tax. My first paycheck was $2,900.
What's going to happen when you get into this, you make a professional relationship with real estate? Because I think you're going to be extremely successful. And your client says, I'm working Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m.
Yeah.
The only time I can go and see these 6 to 10 houses that are on my short list on your Saturday and Sunday.
That's when I get a dash of mom and dad, and I just say, you got to do what you got to do, and
Or,
we'll make it work. I mean,
hold it, and, look at that.
And, yeah.
And,
You can't say or.
I can't say or,
you can
but.
say or just certain times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
When there's
whatever.
like genuinely two choices.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's not
just
the
to re-
or. Okay,
just-
hold on, backtrack. Because it's not the
Here we
or.
go.
You're completely lost. It's not the or. It's the but. When you say but, it negates anything you put
So what
before
grade
it.
did you teach?
Fourth grade, but
Yeah,
it's
so-
not
so-
grammar. It's more just like I love you, but you drive me crazy, right?
Yeah.
Now that negates the I love you, but
No,
if you
it
say I
don't.
love you,
I still love you, but
and
I love you, but you're driving me crazy right now.
just don't say but.
I still love you.
And you drive me crazy.
My job is to keep this man on track. What was
Okay.
your thought
Oh,
on
yeah.
the 6
Sorry.
to 10 showings on Saturday and Sunday? You were going to offer perspective.
Yeah, so
That's when you
what,
delegate.
there you go. So that's the key to here, and this is the key to the partnership, and the key to the business is that we would team up together,
Yeah.
right? And
That's the dream.
And that's what happens. And we team up together, and maybe with one client, we work together on it where you have the opportunity to do that. We're looking to grow into the Richmond market. So this takes time, but you're in your apprenticeship program, right? You're going to be 6 to 12 months
yeah.
of apprenticeship. So everything we're going to do, we're going to be to the hip with you on it. And eventually, but to Jerry's point, some of them you might, because what'll happen,
Because how the bird flies is getting pushed out of the nest.
this is never, if you are successful at this line of work, it's never about the money. Never. It's always about taking care of people.
I would say that's every business.
That's every business.
Yeah.
But do you not?
But I'll give you an example.
And I can't wait to hear what she's going to say to your example. Go, you do your example, because she's going to be able to manage this thought and keep it in her head perhaps longer than you on this one here.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
we both have it. We both
I know
have,
you do.
We
I
both
know
have
you do.
8.
Yeah,
I
don't
totally know
ADHD
this.
involved.
There's a reason why
Yeah.
there's notes and
Yeah.
pens in front of both,
totally know
both of
this.
us. But you have a situation. We had a situation. I can't disclose. Like the attorney disclosed names and all this stuff. Back to Mom. Back to Yona's cards and notes, and there was a 80-something-year-old woman, God love her, lost her husband a couple years ago. The house is in desperate need of help. She needs to sell it because she has to move for health reasons. And we're trying to figure out how we can help this wonderful person get to where she needs to do for the end of her life, at the end of the day. And figure out a way that we can do this, get the home ready for the market, capitalize as much money from her, because it's about helping her. She has no husband. The situation is not pleasant, but that's what I love about what I do.
Yes.
That's what I love about what I do, to help somebody like that achieve whatever this wonderful
For
woman
sure.
is trying
Because
to
we are
achieve.
people. We are people.
But that's the key to this business, really.
I think it's self-selecting. I think if you are a people person, you will do very well in this
I gotta
field.
write that down. Self-select.
But for her, it was about the money. For this woman, it was about the money.
I was talking about it from the agent's perspective, right? It wasn't about how much commission I'm going to make, or eggs I'm going to make, or not make, or whatever. It's all about helping this, my this Reese Media Award that I won and my quote on that. It's all about helping somebody with one of the 3 requirements for a trip around the sun, right? Food, clothing, and shelter. And this particular person needs shelter. She can't handle the shelter she's in now, and she needs to do that. I don't know. It's why I love and do what I do every day. And
Well, and I think when you frame real estate like that, it becomes closer to like a civil service, which then is what teaching is, right? Like I wanted to teach those children how to read because I loved them and I cared for them, not because my hourly wage was $11.50. Like, you know, like that. So I think to you, I would just challenge you to think about like, it doesn't have to be about the money for you because maybe it doesn't have to be about the money for you. But there are real estate agents who rely upon their commission.
yeah, I'm not saying that
I would say, what?
100%.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
But so-
100%.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I had a question asked to me. It was another interview I did out west for a newspaper.
Humble
out.
brag.
Yeah, it was a humble brag.
He's
Yeah.
always got
Was
it.
that a humble brag? Was that a
That was
humble
good.
brag? Okay. I did an interview.
Yeah.
There you go.
And they asked me the question, how do you recover from losing $17 million? And that's by not focusing on you lost $17 million. You focus on taking care of people, and the money will always follow
Yes.
on that end of it. I do want to kind of get back to this boomer or millennial thing, because it's a real thing right now. And Jerry and I have been talking about this for a while, and I love your take on it.
Oh boy.
No. So right now, the boomer, which is me, is really got the market by a chokehold, right? So let's tell the story. Let's talk about your experience of buying in Richmond and how that process went from a millennial buyer's perspective. Because we lost a lot of homes. I think, 13 homes or something like this?
Yeah.
We lost before we got one. So talk about that and talk about that mindset. And the reason I think it's important for you, and which you get, because you're probably going to help other millennials, and
Yeah.
you're going to be able to explain that. So what did you learn? What you thought was different? And how do you think you can convey it to other people?
So I don't know if I am the person to talk on that because of the specific position that I am in, where I am very lucky that I have you all to help, right?
But there's things as a millennial.
For sure. But I think if you really want to get a genuine answer, you should ask people who are under 30, newly 30, 35, what it feels like looking at a home, knowing that it's 8% interest, knowing that...
No, we're not 6 point. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Knowing that if you do a down payment, you're clearing your savings. It's done. You don't have your parents to fall back on. And you will be paying a mortgage that will be over half of your monthly income. And that is just because both Houston and I are so money conscious, like that is a feeling we have felt. I think if you wanted a true answer to that, you should ask your community of people who watch, like, how does that feel? Because it's very demoralizing, and I'm just in a very small subset of that. There are people who their reality is that they will never be able to afford a home. And that sucks because we are still of the generation where it's like that was the American dream, right? Like now, younger than us, the American dream is different. Like that's not what that is. But we are still of the generation that like success looked like a certain thing. And what it looked like was going to college, because they peddled college, going to college, trade schools are better, getting a degree, finding somebody to marry, and having a home. And so like that's now all being shifted by the younger generation, which is cool. But I still hold on to that dream. Like that was my goal, right? I don't remember your original question. So I do. So there's this like meme going around where it's a bunch of like old people dancing, and they're very old, and they're dancing and they're like, 65 plus, knowing that they bought their home for 7 raspberries in 1975, right? Like,
Yeah.
and they're just like
I've seen this meme.
happy and just like kind of chugging along. And there's a lot of friction between the generations about that. And I don't have the answer. I just know that.
Well, that's
So
what I-
you feel disenchanted, perhaps a bit demoralized maybe some bitterness
Oh yeah.
toward market conditions because as someone who, I mean, and you said this, was it 95?
94.
Yeah, 94.
But thank you.
So
Yeah.
almost 30.
Yeah.
Almost 30. Daughter,
Yeah.
husband, came into a job market with student loan debt,
Yeah.
inflation at extremely high levels.
Yeah.
The housing market at a level of affordability perhaps never seen in American history.
Yeah. And I think it's like,
Headwinds.
yeah, and it's like, what are you mad at? You know, it's like nobody's fault. It's not Keith's fault.
Yeah.
It's not Jerry's fault.
Yeah.
It's the people. It's just like, what are you mad at? Other than
Byproduct of COVID.
yes, and that was very real. And like the market. I remember 2019, and Houston and I were thinking of just like purchasing the tiniest home in Seattle instead of renting.
That's her husband.
Yes, and
Yeah.
we were like, we'll just buy this tiny. It was 490 square feet, and it was listed for $499.
490 square foot
home. Listed
Get
for
less than
$499.
500 square feet.
Yes, and
Lord.
a full bed could fit in the one bedroom with tiny little end tables. And it was beautifully done with a cute shed in the backyard, but it was $500,000. And Houston and I were like, never will that gain any equity. Not only did it sell for $560,
Yeah.
but we checked on the market
Is it
before
north
we
of
left.
800?
It was $699.
Okay, so significant equity.
So, but
Significant
you,
appreciation.
but you just don't know. You look at that and you're like, I can't. That's almost $1,000 a square foot if my math is correct. Yeah. So that's insane. And so when you're up against that, unless you have bankrolls, and you just, how do you win? And I feel like that's very frustrating for people.
So, Judah, I just sent you a text. There's two charts that I'm going to ask Judah to put out. And NAR, National Association of Realtors, puts out a generational buyers report every year. So what I've sent is two quick little pictures for 22 versus 23. So in 2022, there was 43% of the sales were millennials.
I haven't gotten that yet.
Oh, okay. It should be on its way. I'll
But I'm just wondering, like, I would love to look at a subdivision of that percentage.
But 23, it dropped to 23%.
Yeah.
And the boomers, it was a complete flip. 40-something% in 23 of the boomers were the buyers, and that was because we have cash and so forth and so on. There's about 70 million boomers and about 170 million of you. That's Gen Z and you guys. And we've been talking about this for a while. I see eventually there's going to be a real conflict.
Huge conflict.
I'm talking about a real conflict here.
I think it's hard because it's like,
Judah, I'll try that again.
where do you direct?
Facebook Messenger would be best. It's instantaneous if you said it to Judah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I am not the spokesperson for all people who are 29 and 30, there are people who look different than me. There are people who have different obstacles in their life and hardships that I will never understand because I never had to have those obstacles and hardships. But if you look at me on paper, if you look at who I am on paper and who my family is on paper, we should have had a walk in the park buying a house. It should have been 1 + 2 = 3.
Because there's no inventory.
And it wasn't. It was not a walk in the park. So if it's not a walk in the park for me, who should be like a slam.
But you thought it was a walk in the park.
And can I highlight your husband's professional?
Yeah.
What he does professionally.
Yes. So I mean, we're
So furthers your argument.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Like if you look at my family on paper, we are both college educated. We both have quite frankly, the privilege of having a plan B if anything were to go wrong with our mortgage. Like, we should have just been able to.
Hold it. You just invited yourself to the house?
I think she pointed to you. Yeah, she pointed to you.
You know, it should have been a walk in the park for us. So if it's not a walk in the park for us, and I don't know.
Yona, it's time to move. I think we need to move.
I will. I don't know the politically correct term, but I don't know how blue collar or middle America is doing it.
That's the preferred nomenclature.
Like, I genuinely don't know how.
Those living on the financial margin.
But that's what we've been
That's
talking
it.
about this is.
But they're working They are the backbone of our country. Where it's railroad, it's truck drivers, it's
Frontline workers, teachers, nurses, police, fire.
yes, it's the
So
genuine.
the technical term is workforce housing.
Frontline workers.
And how can you look at somebody who is, driving our railroads and like delivering goods and being of the infrastructure of the United States and be like, oh, sorry, buddy, you're going to
Well,
rent
we had,
and then not retire.
on Mondays, we're fortunate enough to focus on the Hispanic community and the buyer and seller. We had two rock star folks here, Johnny Ornalis and Ricardo Cruz.
And we got a lot of comments too to get
Yeah,
to.
Sorry.
on that, but talking about their community,
Yeah.
It's nothing to be traveling an hour and a half. How can we, and it's a very high level question, and I'm just asking this as a young person, as a millennial. How do we fix this? How do we? Are you good with more inventory? Are you good with more building? Are you good with we just did this rezoning in the city.
Yeah, I think
Does your community look at it that way?
I don't know, because who I am as a slice will never be a not in my backyard person. Like I get peddled propaganda 24/7.
So do I.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine you.
So I will never be a not in my backyard type of
NIMBY.
person. Yes.
Yeah.
But I'd imagine there are 100%. And it makes sense to me. Like growing up in Fluvanna County, that's somebody's land. And I understand that they don't want to shift that.
In a gated community in Fluvanna.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I just don't know.
A little privileged, huh?
Yeah.
For sure, 100%. I just don't know. Yeah, I don't have an answer. And a lot of times it feels just like, Houston and I just had this conversation driving to Grandma's the other day. It's like, how do you solve such an untangible beast? And
I don't think you can. I don't think we can.
Well, I think the way you do it
I don't think we
is
can.
you talk about it.
your local elections.
Local, Neil
way you do it is-
Williamson, all elections matter. Elections matter. Contested elections matter even more. But yeah, I think you do that by talking about it and telling stories about it and putting some real life. That's what I'm trying to get out in this conversation. Some real life examples here, right?
I think there's been a dialogue breakdown between people who are of a certain age and people who are of a different age. There's been a bit of a dialogue breakdown. But that can be said true about any group.
Do you guys want to highlight the comments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Vanessa Parkhill watching the
Hey,
program.
Vanessa.
Parkhill, no idea what Vanessa's age is. We've dubbed her the Queen of Earlysville, Virginia. I do know she has children out of college.
She's 29 at heart.
And 29 at heart. Believe she has children that are, Vanessa, I would say 29, 30. I'm curious what Lee's age. I remember covering Lee while I was at the University of Virginia as a newspaper writer, and he was a standout athlete. She says to you specifically, yes, but to those older people, those 7 raspberries felt like a lot.
For sure.
To those of us that were buying a home when we were young.
For sure.
Yeah,
Well,
and this is where Keith highlights 18%, 19% interest rate. Is that what you were going to do there?
I'm
feel like I'm part of the family?
Yeah,
Well, unfortunately, you are. Yes.
I enjoy your family.
Yeah. So,
like everybody's perspective is their own perspective. And
She says her son is 26, the daughter is 30.
Yeah.
She says blue-collar workers are making more than many college grads these days
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
aren't strapped with college debt. And she said many of us 50-something folks started with much more modest homes than those on the market today. Formica counters versus granite, fewer bathrooms, smaller bedrooms, smaller homes.
I would love to know where those homes are, because we were looking for them. We were looking for a home that was like in the $300,000 range in Richmond, Virginia.
And you've highlighted in the show and passed the closing price. Can we mention that again, or do you not want to?
No, it's okay. It was $650. And
Okay.
that was like,
I would say that's that. I want to say this, and then you jump in. $650 is not starter home category.
no, that's not
Is
what
that
we
safe
want.
to say, Smith?
$650 at that time in that neighborhood was starter home.
Yes.
Okay.
But we didn't.
Okay, but generally is not.
But
Yeah. If that is starter home, then that's the problem.
Back to this trusted advisor comment that we use all the time. I will tell you, it was a pleasure to work with you in Houston because you trusted me.
Well, it's easy to trust you. There has been plenty of times where I sat back and looked at our real estate thing. And I was like, if that wasn't my father, and I knew without a wavering that he had what was best.
That you would have had doubts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in
But
fact, but I know you treat everybody like that. I get that. I don't know if that's a blanket.
I just want to say this out
Okay,
loud.
go ahead.
I didn't treat you any different than I treated any other.
And as
any other
somebody who has
client.
sat on the other side of years of phone calls, I can confirm he did not treat me any different than everybody else. I'm still saying if I
Totally get what you're saying.
Yeah. If it wasn't
Especially with your first iteration.
yes, and across the country, like if you weren't my father, I would have questions for you that I was like, nope, I know Dad is working his hardest because I've had a life of seeing it,
Well,
and you're my
you
dad.
trusted me, right?
Yes.
Because we got to a point where
I guess her point is if it was not dad and mom
Yeah.
working the deal,
It
there
would've
would have
been
been
hard.
much more doubt that would have been in her mind.
Like real
Which-
scary doubt.
Yeah, scary doubt. I
Yeah.
totally appreciate that.
well, you probably would have made a decision you shouldn't have. made.
100%.
Yeah.
We would have, because
But-
we were close to calling you and being like, just scrap it. Like,
Yeah.
we can't wait anymore. Like,
Well,
we'll
we
figure
had
out
that
something else.
conversation,
Yeah.
right? And that conversation I've had with you, but and many clients at that time. Look, let's face it. You bought it at $650. I bet you your home has got an 8 in front of it now.
But I'm trying to highlight
So
is
if you would have waited
underst-
for a year,
I understand why people have a hard time trusting, because it is a scary.
Oh, my
it
God.
can be a very scary thing to undergo.
again, it's one of the big 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the biggest. Typically, it's one of the biggest purchases, the biggest moves that people will do. You know, Vanessa said that. You know, Yona and I bought our first house in 1988 at 18%. I think it was.
What was the price tag?
I think it was $125,000, which was rather steep for those days. You know, we were just opened up our own businesses. You were a gleam in my eye at that point.
Was she born?
We were all
Okay.
accidents.
Okay.
But
Mom wouldn't like
but Yasmin,
I don't think your
I'm sorry,
mom
what
wants
did
you
you
to
say?
say.
It's okay.
did you-
won't
I didn't
repeat
hear
it.
She's not a,
No, it's okay.
No, wait. We can bleep that out.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you say accident?
Yeah, of course. No,
No,
way.
no,
I will fight that till till
that's
the end.
hilarious. I love your family so much.
That's silly.
No. Maybe an oops, but
James,
not an accident.
James Watson says you're speaking the truth. Home ownership takes different levels of family support at this point, even for college graduates
Yeah.
in most cities, unfortunately. Juan Sarmiento is watching this program. Juan, I'm going to get to your comment from earlier. He says, it's a shame we are losing teachers at such an astronomical rate.
is. It's
My
tough.
son is trying to hang on in Spotsylvania County as a teacher.
And that's
Can you ask him what school he's in?
What
Spotsylvania?
school, Juan? I would love to know. Jon Snow watching the program. She is keeping it real. It's always about the money. You can varnish it any way you like, but if you're not being compensated accordingly, you won't be able to sustain your passion and drive.
And I think
There's truth to
that
that.
might be one of the divides, the big generational divides, is that like maybe it wasn't always about the money for 60 and plus, and like the way their hands laid, it just worked out. But
So
for us, it's about the money, because if I'm going to be saying no to something else, am I going to be saying no to
Time with your daughter.
time with my daughter?
Your most precious time.
time with my husband, time
Yeah.
with my family, time with my dog. Like if I'm
It's
gonna,
got to be, you have to justify it.
what
there is a capital, what is it?
Opportunity cost.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity cost. And I feel like
I finish all the Smith sentences.
Thank you.
Yes.
and I
I'm here to help.
appreciate it. So it's just, maybe the opportunity cost just isn't at working ourselves into the ground right now. And that's not to say, that's just to say I understand why some people would be feeling that way.
You are devil's advocate for the sake of the talk show. He says Spotsylvania High School.
Oh, cool. Houston went to Riverbend.
Devil's advocate for the sake of a talk show. Because that's my role, is to play devil's advocate to keep the
and
conversation
answer
going.
and finish on sentence.
You guys are extremely similar.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure you've heard this before.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, right?
Yeah, we're buds.
Yeah, you guys are extremely similar people.
We're-
Very similar personality types.
Would you say we're competitive?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
Okay,
I'm
but
talking
get
to
it-
two
get
keeps.
to it, Jerry.
Here's
Get to
you're
it, Jerry.
you are in a fortunate position with this opportunity cost of not choosing to pursue work if
Yeah.
you don't want to. And devil's advocate for the sake of a talk show.
Yeah.
Because of your partner's
Yeah, I think I've been pretty
profession and salary.
Yeah, I feel
That's
like,
not the norm.
no, I know. I feel like
Yeah,
I've been pretty open about that.
Yeah,
No, correct. And thank you for being. That's the secret to what we do here in storytelling is being
And
authentic.
they're freaking
and-
loving
and-
it, by the way.
thank
I'm
you.
like, the feed's on fire.
Well, I mean,
authentic and honest, right? Because that's what people. That's what you need to be.
yes.
But you made the choice to still do that, even though you really didn't have to. And that's what I'm trying to drive out.
Oh,
the
meaning
why.
being a teacher? Or being a real estate agent.
A real estate agent.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because, yes.
I mean, if you want to go to teacher, that's fine, but
Yeah.
it's more.
No, I just missed, yeah.
It's Real Talk with Keith Smith.
Yeah,
It is a real
and
estate
teacher.
focused show. Just
And teacher, ex-teacher Yvonne.
so that you know, right? Pull down the partner
Yeah.
tab. There's some awesome people in there that
Yeah.
firms that can help you in your transaction and your real estate
Yes.
life. But this
So-
is a real estate show after all.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I feel like
Unless
I've
you
been
feel
pretty...
you need to teach me more.
No, well, I'll get to that later. But I do feel that I've always been very open, that like that's my main, that's what I feel like I'm singing from the hill. How did Houston and I have a really tough time, just because of the market, getting a home? How do other people get a home?
Was it number 13 or 14 offers?
13th was the one that I win. And I guess now...
She struck out 12 times
Yeah, and
before she bought 13.
But you started it with, why did I choose to become a real estate agent? And I genuinely think 100% there is a financial side of that. Like, I would love the commission. I would love the knowledge of the market. And I would love to be able to, like, at one point do that for my family. The other part is, I saw that experience and was like, if this is that hard for Houston and I,
There you go.
that is impossible for other people. And I love the show. I think sometimes we do need to be a little real with people and be like, this sucks. This is not fair. This sucks. It doesn't mean we're going to roll over and not find you a home, but it's going to take 12 times to knock out, if not more, because that's,
It depends on the location.
Yeah.
She's getting props right now from Jessica Baker.
So that's exactly
Jessica
what I wanted to
Emery
get to.
is giving her some props right now. A bunch of real estate firms watching the show. Vanessa wants to highlight this to you guys. We bought in Earlysville Forest, but we added on instead of moving. Maybe that's the impact of the HGTV fixer-upper on the overall housing market, meaning that they're staying stickier longer. You can attest to that. It used to be 7 years on average. People stayed in homes. Now is it what, flirting with a decade? But
I
people are
think
staying sticky?
when you see the new report come out over here, you're going to see north of 10 years.
Well,
North
why
of
would
10
you
years.
leave?
You're going to.
That's his point. Yeah.
And that's the. We've been doing this for 3.5 decades, and there is a impact on the market now that I've never seen before. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy.
People, and I'm part of the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because when we were building houses for people, all these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses that we built, guess what we built? Age in place,
Yeah.
right? Primaries on the first
Well, I mean,
floor.
I would say certainly part of the problem. I mean, what do you have, 4-bedroom?
Well, my house,
Do you have a 4-bedroom?
my house is a 4-bedroom.
He's a 4-bedroom. What do you got?
Well,
3.
technically 3, but
3 and
it
a
could be
bonus
4.
room.
Okay, so 3,000 plus
But
square feet.
my primary, when I
Basement.
built that
Yeah.
home in 2000,
Well, you're living there by yourself, you, Yona, and Forrest.
and
Get
a
on
cat.
out.
And a cat.
There's a
You,
family who needs it.
Yona. That's what yeah. That's
There's
seriously.
a growing family who needs it.
There's a family that needs it.
Now I feel guilty.
See? Yeah. He's not
Well-
out here trying to fix the problem.
And she and
What did you
and,
just say? I'm really not trying to fix
and isn't Yona trying to move closer to the city? Mm-hmm. Like where
Pedal
she
it,
can
Jerry.
walk?
We won't.
Oh, look at that. It's 11:11.
From my standpoint, it's an absolute no-brainer.
But
I
it's
mean,
hard too because it's
But
like you buy-
my point is, I don't have to, and that's it. And
That's why you're not gonna.
So
Yeah.
there's 2 phrases that I'm coining for 2024. Life will happen in 2024. So you're going to start seeing lots of life choices having to make. Market, I think inventory is going to pick up a little bit, but it's anemic on it. You know, the real estate market is going to chug along
Yeah.
in 2024. And I think you're going to see more in 24, but you're going to see more life impacts happen. But on us right now, I'm not on a life impact that I have to move. My primary's on the main floor. I got 1,600 square feet. Everything, we can live completely on our main floor, but when you and Ravenna come and Yasmina and the 2 grandkids
Yeah.
come, now I got space.
for sure.
But
But that argument,
eventually I'm going to have to move
that
out.
argument is
the antithesis of what he's
Promoting.
yeah.
But I'm trying to maybe I'm not doing, a good enough job for it. There are things like that have happened over the last couple of decades to
Yeah.
include 2% interest, to include homes were getting built with that. And back to the starter home, nobody's building starter homes because they
yeah.
can't.
Yeah,
Explain why. Explain why.
You can't get through the rezoning process.
it's not worth it.
Colonial Circle and our fine county.
Louvain.
Like it, don't like it, whatever.
Yeah.
We're on ours. It's on its 6th year, working into a 7th year, and they haven't gone vertical with homes. And oh, by the way, they're probably not going to be in the greatest of price points.
Yeah.
Because 24% of all new construction costs are related to regulatory expenses.
Yeah.
On that. So on a $400,000 house, $100,000 of that is regulatory on it. There's just not enough new product, new homes being created. So back in the day, Levittown, where we went from Brooklyn to Levittown back
Also
to Brooklyn.
problematic, but yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
I got that. Mm-hmm. But what the intent was after World War II was they built these little 900 square foot starter homes, right?
Yeah.
For veterans coming home from World War II. Projects like that are not happening, right?
Yeah.
Because the regulatory environment, right, wrong, or indifferent, is very different now than it was then.
James, the average family could not buy or afford your house if you moved out. And to move into the city of Charlottesville, you would need a nice bag of money to get something decent. It's a zero-sum game.
Is that my brother-in-law, James?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we literally had this conversation as I rolled out of Tavola last night. If I was going to buy a home, I would buy a home in Belmont.
Yeah. So would everybody.
It's $800,000,
Yeah.
$1,000,000.
So basically what he's saying is, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, you would be buying something more expensive than your exit of your current house.
Well, I mean, everybody does things for a reason, right? Like, it makes sense why Dad would want to sell.
Plus, I got stuff.
Yeah. It's a lot of stuff. It makes sense. Like, everybody, people my age do things for a reason. Like, we're all just doing things because we have to do what we need to get done. So, but, to solve your question, I have...
So right now, just a high level, we've been talking about this for years. The buyer profile is you and me.
Yeah, and you're going to win every time.
And I'm going to be able to win because I can sell my house.
You have savings. You can sell your
got
house.
savings.
Don't have student loan debt.
I don't have student
Probably
loan.
don't have, credit card debt.
We do not have credit
Don't
card
have
debt.
kids living in the house.
Hopefully. I mean, yes, no.
Yeah. I mean, you got a lot of advantages.
And that's when we go back to your experience.
But how is that different?
What were we losing against? Cash.
Yeah.
Almost every single one of them were
Everyone.
cash.
Yeah.
Almost all of them were cash.
Like, almost like a quarter or a half percent, 25 or 50% cash.
Oh no, I was a little bit more than that.
Vanessa says, I appreciate Yvonne's perspective and the family dynamic show on the family dynamic on the show today. Jennifer on a different Facebook page. I love this dynamic on the show. Lauren on a different Facebook page. You got to do more shows like this. She's keeping it real. On a different Facebook page, this comment's come in. This has been one of your best shows yet so far, Keith. On Twitter, this show has been excellent. It's been real and it's from the heart. Comments
wonder
all
if there
over
would
like
be
this.
any-
You are fantastic on this show.
Thank you.
I sincerely mean that.
But
Kevin
I-
Yancey in Waynesboro for you. Take a look at what your parents or grandparents paid. Purchase price and aggregate it today and see the percentage difference generation to generation, which
Cool.
is your argument.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well,
But
like
I
I-
would be interested if there's anybody who felt like they are of my age and wants to share their experience, maybe frustration not being able to get into a home, or frustration with just buying a home, or it would be cool to get somebody who could kind of be advised on the show, right?
So this is
She
why
should come back. She should come back. A lot of comments if you want to get to
Go
them.
ahead, yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Holly
Well, I know
Foster.
we're over time,
Oh,
so-
it's all right. It's totally good. I got 11:45, but it's on the mall. We got plenty of time. Holly Foster in Henrico.
That's why you work all the time.
Queen of I do work all the time. I work all the time. My wife would literally say that. I work all the time.
But go ahead.
Holly Foster says Yvonne and her husband could have found a less expensive home if they had gone to Goochland or
Yes,
Midlothian,
for
but
sure.
they wanted to be in an area closer to the hospital for his work.
Yes.
The area they purchased in used to be starter homes about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Now they are far more expensive because of its location.
You're right. And
That's
that
West Side Richmond.
that is spot on.
100%.
From someone who lives in
100%.
the area. Yeah.
That you could not have. That no truer words have ever been
Yeah,
spoken.
and that was a big conversation between Houston and I. Like, we could live out in the Gooch and pay
Half.
$300,000. Again, to
But you you
Vanessa-
said this on previous shows, you've wanted to walk
yeah,
with stroller in a neighborhood setting, grab a coffee
Yes.
while walking out the front door, a la
Yeah.
Seattle.
yeah, and I believe it was Vanessa. To Vanessa's point, like I have that mobility and I have that privilege to say that's what I would like, and that is why it's so frustrating because if everybody would want that, they deserve to have the things that they want. And I knew from my mental health as a new mother, someone who just moved away from all of my friends who were walking distance in Seattle, that if this was going to feel like a home for me, those were the requirements that I needed.
And as your real estate agent, I knew that, and that's where we kind of had to focus and temper expectations and all this stuff.
But yeah, you're right. Go ahead, Jerry.
I mean, so much going.
Judah, would you mind going to a 4-shot real quick? So this is what I want to do. I mean, this is something that Jerry and I have been talking about, you and I have been talking about, is to have a regularly
Dude, you should totally come back.
I
occurring
have
show.
a good idea.
But we have a 4th seat.
I have
so
a good idea.
Anybody
Well,
who's-
you mean 4-shot with Judah? You put a 4-shot. Judah's on.
Give me just a second.
Yeah, I just want people to see the empty
the
seat.
fourth guy. You go studio camera.
Studio camera. Sorry,
Yeah, studio
apologize.
camera would
Well,
be easier for him. He
this
doesn't
is
have
what-
to set up the scene in that circumstance.
This is what I get for trying to be the director.
Studio camera.
Studio camera. Thank you. But what I wanted folks to do is see that empty seat. So those who are watching and listening, yes, that's what I want to do with the show going forward.
I think that would be really cool to tap into like my age people who are feeling
Real estate agents, professionals,
No,
buyers.
I'm saying I think someone who is in the position like, will I ever
Yeah.
will I ever be able to
I'm
buy
in.
a home? And then because there is so much of like what goes on during like a meeting with you when you advise me how to do. There's so much unknowns that if someone could just see what it would look like
That's what
to have that conversation, it might allow people to feel more comfortable and more trust in the process that,
You
know,
s-
maybe not right now, maybe in 2 years, maybe it is right now. But either way, you're not going to know those answers until you ask those questions. And I know, at least for me, I get stuck in the like, well, I don't want to ask the questions because I might not like the answer, you know?
I can say this because Houston said it to me. Houston is an anesthesiologist. He's a doctor. He's a highly educated man on that. And he pulled me aside. He says, Keith, I didn't realize this was this difficult.
It's tough.
I didn't realize. I
But
thought this was easy.
yeah, it's tough. I genuinely thought once we found the home, that was it. I was like, I look at these all day I look at them all day.
You see it on Zillow or wherever
Yeah.
you want. Yeah.
So I know you've got a meeting. We're running a little bit over. If there's a couple of questions on that
Yeah.
you want to shout out.
Yeah. I mean, dozens of people saying for you to come back.
Thank you. I think that there are more important perspectives to hear than me that I would love to help facilitate get on the show.
There you go. I mean, there you go. Fantastic.
Well, there's a way to end the show.
Fantastic commentary right
so
here.
please, if you watch and you think like I would love my perspective to be shared.
Oh, I mean, and to your point, and I think you would, I don't want to speak out of turn here, too much respect for you, but to your point, perhaps that perspective has been not shared enough on the talk show.
And that's the reason why I've been pushing you to
Yeah.
do this, right?
been
And I
asked,
wanted
yeah.
to give you your space
Yeah.
and your time, right?
I mean, often I guess what I'm saying is, and this even goes for the show that I do with the I Love Seville show, oftentimes I'm either chatting with or having commentary or topic matter that pertains to what's in front of my face and not necessarily like holistic or an aerial view of where we're at in society or circumstances today,
yeah.
which is the point you're making.
Yeah. Yep. I think it would be cool to get
Well,
many different perspectives would be cool.
you've done enough shows by now. It's interesting. We're sitting here, the four of us, having a conversation, and it's hard to know who's actually listening and who's actually watching. And Jerry does a great job on feeding people.
I try. I'm not going to get to everyone's today.
that come in. But yes, we never actually spoke about this, but this was my goal. This was my objective, to have you come in,
Great
do
minds
once a
think
month,
alike.
twice a month, bring in some younger people. Maybe the people are getting tired of almost
Because
5
I
years
think
of hearing some old dude.
storytelling seems to be your theme of today, and I think if you could tell the stories of different people,
There you go.
that would be pretty cool. Get
This,
some more comments.
I'll vet this one and bring it to the forefront. Holly Foster, who's in Henrico,
Hey, Holly.
and I personally met Holly half a dozen times. She's an incredibly kind woman. She's given you props and said she's very much enjoyed the show and that you made the right decision for your life.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's all you're trying to do, right? Make the best decision with the choices you got in front of you.
There it is. Do the best you can with what you got. Do the
And
best
then
you
when
can
you know
with what
better,
you
do better.
got. Yeah,
I
100%.
believe that's a real rough quote of Maya Angelou. I didn't know I could do better until I learned how to do better, and then I did better. Know better, do better.
I like that. For the viewers and listeners whose comments we did not relay live on air or get to today, I apologize. We tried to get to every of them. All the comments today, there was quite a bit, which I think is a testament to our guest today, the newest realtor on Yes Realty Partners. Just make sure it's in that 9 to 5 range, Monday through Friday.
I think that's what everybody wants. That's what everybody wants.
Do you actually think I'm going to let that happen?
I think I'm gonna practice my
You're gonna-
delegating skills.
There you go. Good girl.
It's a good opportunity to practice delegating.
Well said. Well said.
The show was excellent.
Thank you. I just.
It was fun.
To me, this is simple. I'm with people that I love and get along
Having
with.
conversations about what we like to talk
What
about.
we like to talk about.
Yeah,
This is
100%.
just-
But we should get more narratives in here that disrupt what you all think.
And that's her point, and I think she makes a good point.
And I've been making that point for a long time. You got to have someone challenge you.
Yeah.
Apparently, we've got that.
Yeah, because that's how you build trust, is by having opposing conversations.
There you go. I think that's
Boom.
very well said.
Boom.
Mic drop right there. Yeah, she did the mic drop. Judah Wickower, the man behind the camera, doing the hard work to allow us to do the easy
you.
work. The show is archived wherever you get your social media content. We hope you find it online at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com, and you click the Partners tab on the website where you'll see the trusted advisors in the game.
Please.
The I Love Seville show is up in approximately 1 hour. So long, everybody. That was excellent.
Thanks, Shotzi.
Yeah, you're welcome.
He's going to tell us when the mics and cameras are off.
I've been.